First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
If you go outside right now, is the perfect time to get out there. It's 70 degrees right now.
It's going to be thunder and lightning.
Well, whatever. My point is, it is 70 right now.
I know.
It's a nice
It
morning.
is
Beautiful.
so beautiful and mild. It would be if you can take time to get out there. I don't know, get a walk in or something.
Take a
Sit
swim.
outside. It is the time to do it because it is just gorgeous out. Now, what is interesting is it is about, and you're saying this has changed, right?
Well,
it is about 20 degrees warmer right now than it will be for the high on either Friday or Saturday.
Saturday, that's the
So they've
change.
shifted it, right?
So when we talked yesterday, it was going to be Friday was the cooler day. I mean, it is still a cool weekend, but it was I don't want to say cold either, but it was the 50-degree day we were looking at Friday.
Yeah, low 50s.
Right.
And, you know,
And
it's
I believe
going to
that's-
struggle getting out of the 40s.
Well, see, I don't know because now I'm looking and it says Friday 55, Saturday
Yeah, I
63.
didn't see what you saw this morning. It looked like it was Friday, the
What's going on
rainy
here?
day Friday, and 52. So it'll be about 18 degrees cooler as for the high on Friday than it is right now.
I
Let's just
swear
wait
it
and,
just
let's
flipped
just
back.
wait
I
and
just-
see what Richard says.
We will, yes. But, you know, the weekend looking mid-60s and sunshine and 70 on Monday, Memorial Day and sunshine. I guess I'll take it.
Beggars can't be choosers,
Yeah.
and this is Utica, New York, so we are taking it.
Yeah. I had said a while back, every year my daughter's birthday, we try to do something outside, and her birthday is on the 28th, which is Friday, and every year it's hit and miss. And this year it's going to be 50, so it'll be the.
Again, I'll go back to the
It'll be the
conversation
miss,
this month. I could not believe when you said the average temperature for the second
Yeah.
half of May is 70 or better, and I said, "There's no way." I just remember so many times I celebrated my birthday, and it was like,
Oh, your birthday's coming up too, right?
it's tomorrow. Actually,
It
yeah.
is tomorrow, the
Yeah.
27th. Coming up, we'll talk to Rachel Sutherland. Got a message from John Decker yesterday. As soon as that press release came out from the White House that Putin and Biden would be meeting, Decker took a screenshot of the press release and sent it to me. It's unbelievable. With John, we're getting
Inside.
I'm getting the releases from John, or the text saying, "Hey, I just met with the vice president. She's not going to be going to Mexico." Boom! All of a sudden, an AP alert comes across and it hits. But I'm getting my alerts from John. It's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
And, you know, he's right in the room there. He's getting the stuff firsthand. We'll speak to John Decker tomorrow. Ryan Nobles, another one. We'll speak with Ryan after 8:30 this morning. And Rachel on the Biden-Putin meeting is coming up. Let's see. We have a statement on from Yorkville, I believe, right, Andrew?
Yeah, so-
we're gonna
Yes,
get to
it
that
is.
coming
Got
up
that bright and early.
in a second. That's the story that occurred over there. The barbecue guy. We'll
Full
give you-
Throttle. Was it Mike Hill?
Full Throttle is the name of the barbecue joint. You can call those places joints, I think.
Yeah.
And is it Mike Hill?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Michael
Anyway.
Hill, if you want to be formal.
Dr. Ken Hall has been. We're only getting him one time this week, and it'll be today. And there's a lot to talk about in terms of the vaccine. How about antibodies? Very interesting. There's new word out as we go longer in. They're able to tell us more about the antibodies, and what they're saying is they continue to protect people.
That's great.
Now they're saying up to 10 months antibodies stay in a person. So you know that chances are it gives you kind of a safety shield, even if you haven't had the vaccine. If you've had the
He's with
virus.
us this morning, right?
Yep.
All right, so if you have a question, send it to us via the app. Here's my question. I'll ask it when he comes on. It lasts for 10 months in most people. Some people, it's up to 10 months.
I believe
at this
it's
point.
10 months and growing, and
Correct.
we'll see what the research says when we speak to him.
I just wonder how many people they examine when they look for these antibodies. I'm not saying nobody would have them, but it doesn't mean everybody has them.
Steve Greenberg from Siena College is on this morning too, in that latest polling on Cuomo that shows Cuomo's numbers beginning to falter.
How low can you go? How low?
Not
that low.
Not that low.
Not
though,
that low.
Right.
They still love him.
Apparently, they still would reelect him if there's a Republican in the race, which there will be, of course. But
I only say,
and it won't be Molinaro, by the way. You see, he's announced he is not running.
He just came out and said he was running.
That's Astorino. It was the other former.
Yeah, Molinaro.
Oh, right.
Who's another one we've talked to previously in his bid. He will not run. We'll do the free money question from the Hobica law firm.
Did somebody ask him, or did he come out and announce that?
I think it's been anticipated that he might.
Oh, okay.
And he's saying that he won't. It's then they thought he's going to be running for Congress, and he's now saying he might not even be running for Congress. So who would want that congressional job? I mean, you gotta you start your day every day knowing that you've got to fundraise every single day. They make phone calls.
Can I have $1,000? Thank you.
That's it. And then you're stuck in a gridlock that no one gets along, no one agrees, they can't get anything done. It's the world that is Congress.
Some things are getting done. We're spending money like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
My question for Steve Greenberg will be: I can't believe there's not a Democrat out there that would take this opportunity to primary the governor. I mean, he's weak against other. I mean, obviously the poll is showing that he would probably still get elected if he were to face a Republican.
That right there is your answer. So if you're a Democrat, you've got who would the leading Democrat be in New York State? It would be Cuomo.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, I thought you meant.
I mean, you could look at Schumer from the federal level. I get it, but still, Cuomo is pretty darn powerful.
Yeah.
And polling shows that he'd win. I think there's your answer. Everything they look to the polls for every decision that is made.
This November?
Should I have eggs this morning with bacon? Let me check the poll.
He's not up this November.
Bacon is down. No.
20.
Okay. Oh, that's plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time for him
see
to
how
turn
this
all around.
Well, and for a potential opponent, to see how the investigation turns out. I mean, if this investigation comes out and it doesn't look good, how could it look good?
Yeah.
But there's no question there will be other Democrats.
I'm just saying too. You take Cuomo out and you put another Democrat in. That poll's not going to change much. If we're really being honest,
you're absolutely right. I think you're right. Unless you put De Blasio in, I don't think De Blasio.
No. Ooh boy.
But again, in New York City, there's a different feel about De Blasio. So it's all very interesting stuff. There's also, I think in the OD today, there's a you can type in your zip code, and it will tell you how many people in your zip code have been vaccinated.
Oh, no kidding.
So you could find out if you live in a, and it's kind of interesting in Utica because it would break Utica down. So if you live in West Utica versus people in, North Utica, how many people what percentage of people are vaccinated? Kind of an interesting little ditty there.
It is interesting. So I'm still confused. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I noticed some places that I've stopped at, primarily like a gas station. I went and got gas this morning. They seem to have taken down the signs that say, many of them, you must wear a mask to enter. I did see a sign yesterday that said, if you're not vaccinated, please wear a mask and maintain social distancing. But, I get confused. I walk in, always with my mask, and I see sometimes the clerks don't even have the mask on.
Yeah.
And then you'll see like 2 customers with it and 3 without it. And I just don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I went and got gas this morning. I went in to pay, and it looked like the cashier was wearing a mask. And I said, all right, well, I'm just going to put it on, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I feel like the new thing is you just walk around with it as a chin strap until someone tells you to put it up. You haven't gotten rid of the mask.
You got to have it in hand.
You've just lowered it.
I do kind of have that. It's almost like it becomes the new article of clothing. I don't know. I for the most part wear it when I go into a store right now, just because there is conflicting information out there. So according to the I don't know if this is World Health or who makes these recommendations, but these are 5 things, if after you've been vaccinated, that you should consider. Number 1, they say you should still wear a mask. You've had 2 doses, but plenty of people remain unvaccinated and therefore at risk. You should still wear a mask in a heavily crowded place like supermarkets, public transportation, etc. This is what they're saying. I'm not telling you to do this, but I kind of follow this. You still do some sort of self-isolation. It's because you can still catch and spread the virus after 2 doses. Some people can still catch it. Again, you ask the question when they're telling us this, why do we get vaccinated? Well, I guess it really decreases the chances. You should still do social distancing. You should still go to places and keep your windows open. Windows open and being outdoors is better. And you still do the hand sanitizer and wash your hands. That's what they say.
I just find it interesting. What was the second to last thing that you read on the tip?
Opening windows, making sure there's good ventilation. Keeping your distance, the social distancing, and all that stuff.
You're right. It is interesting because there's conflicting information and there's still guidance on what to do. But I think for me, the vaccine was worth it just because now we're kind of moving out of this.
Listen, you have plenty of places you can now go to. You can take your mask off. You can at least gather with other people. And as you said, you're going into a convenience store or you're going in somewhere. Even the clerks in some cases aren't wearing masks. Let me switch to, and we'll get to it. The Biden-Putin summit, which is now scheduled to take place in just a couple of weeks. We got that news yesterday from the White House, and Rachel Sutherland is on now. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, President Biden and President Putin are set to meet in Geneva on June 16th, and this is going to be right after President Biden finishes up the G7 summit of leaders. And this is his first international trip, and he's going to round it out with this meeting with the leader of Russia.
So I would assume there's a lot to talk about, and it's interesting because the American way, the rest of the world looks at and faces the reality that 1 minute you have President Trump, the next minute you have completely, almost a direct opposite in President Biden.
Right. It's a little bit of diplomatic whiplash.
Yeah.
So President Putin will be facing Biden, and really the White House says they're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Iran, North Korea, the Arctic, because you know that Russia has been breaking up the ice up there in the Arctic and trying to get thoroughfares for their travel and almost wanting to dominate that area. So that's going to be a topic of discussion. Arms control, climate change, the coronavirus. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about whether, hey, is this some kind of reward for Putin? Because, we blame Russia for the solar winds attack, and they've also been building up military forces on the border with Crimea. But she said no. She said this is how diplomacy works.
Okay. And I wonder what the personality... It did seem that the President Trump really got along with Vladimir Putin. If you take what Biden says in public, that same relationship won't be there.
Absolutely. I mean, Biden called him, what was it, a murderer. He's really had strong words for Russia, if you think about it. And I'll be watching as well as everybody else to see how does this relationship work out.
Yeah, the facial expressions and and when you say that body language, I remember when George Bush, President Bush at the time, met Putin, and people were analyzing the handshake. So President Bush went in for the handshake, and then Putin went in for the over-the-top handshake.
Yes, who had the upper hand?
Right.
Literally, yeah.
Who literally had the upper hand? That was kind of interesting.
Or whether or not it's a Masonic symbol.
Right. Yeah, you're right. We'll be watching all that on the late night conspiracy shows. Okay, interesting stuff, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. That whole upper hand, see who has the upper hand. All those phrases come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And then we, of course, there was the Pisani Obama shake of 2000.
Yes.
14 or
remember the which inspired the Disney song "Let It Go." That handshake was. I remember talking to Paseni about that. It went on for a long time. That was a
record breaker,
an intense handshake there.
It was, but not that he needs me to defend or anything, and I do think it was funny. Watching it is actually pretty funny. But if that's the only chance you're going to get,
you might as well take advantage of it. Yeah.
You're either going to get 3.5 seconds for the shake,
yeah.
or if you get 3.5 minutes because you won't let his hand go, then take full advantage of the 3.5 minutes.
I know there's someone out there like, well, I wouldn't shake his hand. That's Obama. I wouldn't, It's the president of the United States.
Seriously.
Whether you're a pro-Trump person or an anti-Trump person, you get a chance to meet the president, that's a big deal. And the same thing would hold true for Bush and Obama and even Biden. I just hope Biden stays awake. I mean, that's my biggest concern. Please, don't go falling asleep.
Especially in Russia. Okay.
You ought to have, there's that coffee. What's that coffee out of Saratoga?
Death Wish.
Death Wish coffee. Or just have 6 espressos.
So
that's how I
take the Keeler remedy.
That would be
works.
funny if he falls asleep in the chair next to Putin or something, and Putin starts drawing a mustache on him or shaves his eyebrows.
Yeah, that'll be great. How embarrassing that'll be.
So I want to ask, going back to what we just talked about a minute ago, which was,
by the way, that was World Health, and that is the advice given to the UK. That's how they're moving. They are moving forward.
How's that?
As I said, those are the 5 things that they still say to wear a mask. And
so here's what I don't understand. Can you explain this to me? The Knicks will play the Hawks again tonight, Game 2 at MSG. Yeah. The attendance for Sunday's game was like over 15,000, and I thought it was 21,000, but I guess for basketball it's 19,000 seats that they can fit. So that's like what, 80%? They have 15,000 fans, 80% capacity. The Mets and Yankees outdoors. Last night the Mets had 9,000 fans. The Yankees had 12,000 fans.
Yeah, I don't understand.
22 and 25% capacity.
Don't understand.
I thought May 19th was the date they were lifting the stuff. You can have sections where you can have fully vaccinated people. We're getting more people at indoor sporting events than at outdoor sporting events, like a baseball. Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
They were trying to sell more tickets this week, I think. And I'm assuming I don't know. Does it take a while to get people to buy those tickets? And
not Knicks fans, though.
No, not at all.
Richard, if you know anything, let me know on that. Because
I would say that we're nearing this next 30 days. You're going to see a major release of a lot of restrictions. I think you're going to see things begin to go back to some bit of normalcy in the next 30 days or so. Also coming out, movies. Summer movies are going to be back in theaters again.
Yes,
and I think you're still going to see some of this stuff stream where you can see it in theaters or you can get it on HBO Max. That might be one of the things that ends up sticking around with the pandemic. But some of the movies you can look for: Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson in Spiral from the book, Cruella, the Disney flick is coming out. Emma Stone is playing Cruella de Vil. A Quiet Place Part 2, filmed right here in upstate New York. John Krasinski returning. I don't believe that was filmed at all in Little Falls this time.
It wasn't. Parts of Western New York, but not.
More out in the Buffalo region. The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It, is coming out. Well, that's going to be pretty good. Samaritan on June 4th. Sylvester Stallone plays a superhero who's been missing for 20 years. Animated film Spirit Untamed. Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone's been missing for
that.
20 years.
In the Heights, June 11th. It'll be in theaters and on HBO Max. Crazy Rich Asians director, all that. It's called In the Heights. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Okay. Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. He's in a couple of movies.
The Hitman's Wife's...
Hitman's with an apostrophe, Wife's with an apostrophe, Bodyguard.
Okay.
So have you ever wondered, can you use 2 apostrophes showing possession? The answer is yes, of course you can. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. the bodyguard of the wife of the hitman.
Now, these are all coming out soon, right?
These are all coming out in June, by the way.
So I would assume that they were filmed, or at least they were filmed.
These are probably movies that were in the works before and have been completed.
It was an interview with now I'm not going to remember her name, the one that's in Quiet Place 2, who's married to John Krasinski.
Yeah.
They had, I think that was one of the first movies to get pulled. Like, they were going to premiere in March of 2020. And that movie got pulled right when the pandemic started. It was
April of last year, but exactly a year ago.
Emily Blunt is the wife of John Krasinski. Some other was to look for Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, Werewolves Within, Zola. These are all in June. Then in July, The Forever Purge, Summer of Soul, Black Widow is coming out. Space Jam: A New Legacy. Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. There's a movie about G.I. Joe. Okay. Hotel Transylvania. Old, Jungle Cruise. These are all in July.
Jungle Cruise?
Jungle, and Emily
Is that another
Blunt,
Disney movie?
Emily Blunt is in that, and it's a movie about the jungle. It's like based on the Jungle Cruise at Disney. It's a Disney movie. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Based on the Disneyland or Disney World ride. Stillwater, The Green Knight, The Suicide Squad, Free Guy, Respect. I mean, there are dozens and dozens and dozens.
I can't wait for that one.
That are all coming out, and that doesn't even get into August yet. So
it's the movie event of the summer.
It is.
You can play them back to back.
That's the perfect voice for
and
that.
to get you through the whole summer.
In theaters, and I imagine you'll still have some social distancing, but all that is going on in theaters. Noah Syndergaard is scheduled to come to Syracuse, but that might not happen, at least for now. He pitched an inning and came out with a sore arm. Probably not a good sign after coming off surgery.
No, I mean, yeah, definitely not. Here's what I wonder. I assume he's done a lot of throwing in the past few weeks to get ready to even make a start. Did he not? He didn't have soreness then, but now he does because he was throwing.
What Ron Darling was saying last night is this is the problem I have with after they come out of surgery on the arm is they throw too hard right off the bat.
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to announce that on that app, where you can buy lottery tickets, I'm a winner. I won $6.
Oh,
very
congratulations.
Nice.
Feeling very wealthy this morning.
Don't spend it all on one ticket.
I'm going to try not to.
Speaking of lottery tickets, I got a message from Roy last night. Listening to the show earlier today, lottery tickets when you get vaccinated at SUNY Poly. I wanted to point out that you only get the $20 ticket if it's your first shot.
And so the second shot doesn't get it?
So our son got his second shot today, and they told him you only get the lottery ticket if it's your first shot. No lottery ticket for the second shot.
That is so ridiculous.
So you have them there in the bin.
Right. So you're saying if you started this process 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Or in some cases it's
and you're
4
getting
weeks.
your second shot, you don't get to take advantage of That is dumb.
No,
sorry,
sir. It's your second
so
shot.
Eloquent,
you do not get a ticket.
I just
so eloquent about that.
I hope you kind of figured out how I feel about it.
It is dumb. I agree completely.
And because there are people that get the first shot and will not get the second shot. So if your intent is to incentivize, then you're still incentivizing. You want to talk about that? 315-736-0186.
It's not just dumb. It's stupid.
And
thank you for that East Utica dialect there.
A message here. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is the sequel to the action comedy The Hitman's Bodyguard. Ryan Reynolds, Sam Jackson, and Selma Hayek.
Okay, that'll be cool.
I did not know that.
And, okay, so we had the story the other day where the owner of right next to Voss's, the owner of the barbecue place, which is, what again? What's the name of it?
Full Throttle Barbecue.
Full Throttle Barbecue, which is also playing in theaters this
That'll be
July.
in August, yeah.
Anyway, there was a parking situation. A woman went to park there, and he said, you can't park there. And she said, I'm just running over to Voss's to wait in that very short line. And he said, I'm sorry, this is only parking for Full Throttle Barbecue. And you can't park here. And she ignored him and just walked over to Voss's. He then called the towing company, and they came and lifted up her vehicle as it was beginning to tow it away. She came and said, "Don't you know who I am?" I'm paraphrasing here. "Don't you know who I am?" And it turns out that she had connections to officials in Yorkville, according to this business owner. And it became a thing. That person actually came down to the barbecue. There was a bit of a verbal altercation. And at some point, someone said, "You see how long you're going to be open. You've stepped on the wrong toes."
And I believe it wasn't that person. It was that person's brother went down.
I believe so. Yeah. Who was in some way involved in Yorkville government. So with all that said, Andrew, we have reached out to the mayor of Yorkville, and what do we know?
I got a statement this morning. This is from Mayor Michael Mahoney and the Village of Yorkville Board of Trustees. The Village of Yorkville is grateful for all of our local businesses. They are all critical to our continued success. This would include Full Throttle Barbecue. I am aware of an unfortunate confrontation between the owner of Full Throttle Barbecue and some residents who are employed by and or associated with the village. As is always the case, there appears to be two different interpretations as to what transpired between the parties during this incident. If any of the parties believe they have a legitimate legal claim against any other party, we would expect them to seek legal counsel and take appropriate action. In the meantime, we encourage everyone to patronize all our local businesses, including Full Throttle Barbecue, home of some of the very best barbecue in all of upstate New York. Signed, Mayor Michael Mahoney and nice. The Village of Yorkville.
And a.k.a. the attorney who wrote it. Very nice. Very nice.
So here's my thought.
I don't think I would have put in the line that said there are two different stories. Well, I got to tell you, if there are two different stories, I think we would all like to know, because if there are two different stories, I haven't heard or seen any of the other side of this story. While we all agree, right, that there are usually two or three sides to a story. Mm-hmm. We have not had anyone eager to come in and say, "That's not how it happened. Here's what really happened."
I don't doubt that they consulted an attorney, but I don't know if that was from an attorney, because there was a couple things, too, that caught my attention. I almost felt like at one point there was not an admission, but an acknowledgement that
he said there was an altercation, but said there are as with everything, there are two sides to every story. Other people have a different. So
did she not say, "Do you know
account.
who I am"? Or did she say,
"Right"? What part isn't real?
Did she say,
right.
"Do you know who my brother is"?
I'll bet
you know
she
who my
said,
boyfriend is.
I'll bet it was just like what happened to me at that gas station. I never said, "Don't you know who I am?" I said, "You know who I am." It's a completely.
There's the interpretation.
Completely, you can say the same phrase, and just the inflection in your voice will change the interpretation.
You're 1,000% right.
Yeah, unless of course you want to take advantage of that and say, "Oh no, they said, 'Don't you know who I am?'"
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
There's the old, "Hey, what are you doing?" And
now,
"Hey, what are you doing?"
There is another development of the very good point. There was another development that I had received. This is actually shows that there's a lawsuit, and it's a terrible story. It's a very sad story against the fire department and specifically certain members of the fire department in Yorkville. And the case had been thrown out. They're now appealing the case at the appellate level. I'm going back and forth with the attorney. Maybe tomorrow we'll have the attorney to come on to talk about that case. But it is a terrible case. It's alleging that there was a fatality in a fire, and it happened because of the back and forth between the politics of. You're familiar with this, Andrew, right?
Yes.
The back and forth between the politics over consolidating the fire department. Do you remember back in 2016 when County Executive Pacini was looking to consolidate, wanted consolidation? That was something that was being pushed on everybody from the governor, and it's alleged by the attorney in this case. It's alleged that because Yorkville refused to call in help from Utica, that people perished in the fire, and they instead of calling on Utica, which at some point we'll have the attorney explain this, and the way he described it in the appellate briefing, I guess is what it's called. And there's no decision on that as of yet. But the way it was explained is that they went to Willowvale instead of they called in Willowvale with the house fully engulfed, and they were having water problems because the fire hydrant was frozen. So you needed a tanker. They went to Willowvale instead of Utica, which, by the way, what city borders Yorkville?
Willowvale is not close to Yorkville.
Willowvale's
not as close as
over
Utica.
beyond Washington Mills. That's over in
on Oneida Street.
Yeah.
So what was the
That's the claim.
The idea was they didn't want to ask a bigger department because it shows they should be consolidated or they shouldn't?
There was between some political battle that involved the Utica Fire Department and the Yorkville Volunteers.
So there was some rub, and they didn't want to ask them for help because of
I'm not
allegedly.
saying that.
No. Okay.
Right. I'm
allegedly.
saying, according to the lawsuit, they're saying that the Yorkville Fire Department did not reach out to nearby Utica, and it was not, it's just not logical that you would go to I don't know. I think they mentioned Deansboro and Willowvale. I forget what was mentioned in the briefing, but
if it was Deansboro, that's even further.
I don't think it's Deansboro. But the two fire departments companies that they called in were far further away than Utica would have been. So the question would be, if it wasn't this political standoff, why didn't you call Utica? And that's so the case was thrown out. And I believe what's going on at the appellate level right now is saying it should not have been thrown out, and the lawsuit should be continued.
And why not even New York Mills and Whitesboro?
I don't understand. And I think it was a specific truck they needed because they couldn't get water. Okay. Meanwhile, what they're saying in the court case is that while this is all going on, these two people are trapped. It was a child and a mother trapped in the house. And again, I'm not making any. Yeah,
this is what
is being alleged as to what happened. I hope to have the attorney. I hope to have him today, but it won't be today. Maybe tomorrow.
I had reached out. Is that the one you sent me? I had reached out and I left a voicemail. So.
Let's reach out a little harder for tomorrow if we could. But it is, we're coming up on a holiday week here. Keep that in mind. Jeff is in Utica. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, Bill. I go through Oriskany Boulevard in Yorkville about once a week to go take care of some stuff for my mother. And I made an observation last night. Up until last night when I went through there, you would see the little lawn signs for Full Throttle Barbecue along Oriskany Boulevard. Last night, they weren't there, but was there in the exact same places were the lawn signs for the annual Yorkville Fire Department chicken barbecue. And I just thought that was a little odd that the signs would be missing and replaced by something promoting Yorkville. Would you agree?
Well, maybe there's been a peace offering of some sort.
But you're talking about like the public right-of-way down the strip of the roadway, not in front of the business, right?
Yeah, not in front of the business, like like
further
the corners,
down.
Where people would put in the little lawn signs for like we buy houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
so
political
the
signs
that's there in town that sells barbecue is the signs that were there before are missing, and now the ones promoting the Yorkville Fire Department are there.
Interesting. Well, listen, we all support the Yorkville Fire Department or any local fire department. Whether it's volunteer
Absolutely.
or so I would think it's probably just they're having an event. Everybody's looking at. Listen, if I want people to pay attention to an event that I have, I'm going to put it on that corner right now because everybody's looking at that corner. Oh, that's the place they're talking about.
Yes.
I was curious as to what happened to the Full Throttle Barbecue signs.
It's an interesting observation if that's accurate. I mean, there could be many reasons, but
yeah, interesting. Okay. Well,
all right, thanks, guys.
I'd like to say that we'll look into it, but I don't know how we would be able to prove anything about that. But
I wonder if
exactly.
Okay, Jeff, thank you.
The owner put the signs out and thinks, agrees with Jeff that they were there and now they're missing and something's replaced them.
Okay, Andrew, you can reach out on that. All right, today, here's what I believe that we can say. There is a meeting today with the liquor authority, and based on what the state, who knows what's going to come out of this meeting today, But the state, in advance of all of this, has put out their guidance on reopening. And I got to tell you, I think it's quite interesting. What is, and you say, what can you do? Are you supposed to wear a mask? Do you not have to wear a mask? What's going to happen in restaurants? What's going to happen in bars? I think what the state put out that came into effect on the 19th really shows the hand of what's about to probably officially happen. And we'll get into that. Let me break and we'll come right back.
Make it sound like it's a bad thing, too.
No, I think it's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
I think you're going to see some really good things coming today for bars and restaurants. And I think it really came out on the 19th. Because I can't see that the so far what we've seen, and see if I say this correctly, so far the Liquor Authority has been in harmony with, they've kind of, they followed the guidance of the health department. Mm-hmm. If the health department is coming out and saying what they're saying here in this document that I'll give you, I think you're going to see out of the meeting today with the Liquor Authority some good news for bar owners and restaurant owners. I'll explain what I mean, and I'll give you some examples coming right up here. 6:53 WIBX.